Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. We are going to start with a new series and in this series we will talk about Angular. So what is Angular and how to get started with Angular, which is the installation part we will going to cover in this video. So firstly, Angular is a JavaScript based framework. So JavaScript is a client-side scripting language. So what is client-side? Client-side is like a normal user. Say for example, I am a user and I am going to this web page. So the screen which is visible to me is this Google home screen. So this is a client-side web page or not application whole. It is just a page. So to build this we require HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, but that will be like dynamic. That will not be dynamic in the sense if I click on this Google image, it should do nothing. But suppose if I want that on the click of this Google button, Google icon, I should zoom in or zoom out. Zoom in means it should get large, and on the second click it should go small. So for doing such kind of animation or changes, we need to write some code on the client side, because when we click on this Google image, we are not sending any request to the server. A web application is a combination of the client side web page or the screen which we see, and in between there is a server which processes all those requests. And if it requires a database is a system where the server stores and retrieves the data. Say for example, if you are on Facebook and you have created an account, so the credentials and all the information related to your account will be stored in a Facebook database. So that is a database which stores the data and which can be manipulated easily. So JavaScript is nothing but which is used to manipulate the client side screen and client side display. JavaScript is a very huge concept. So what is JavaScript is a very huge concept. So what is a framework? When we talk about Angular, we say Angular is a JavaScript framework. So when we create a web application, there are so many configurations which we need to do, like what should be the first page and what should be the paths which should redirect when we click on this page and all. So for all those things to work properly, we need to do so many configurations in advance so that we can set up our project and we can start developing it. So as a developer, we want that we should focus more on what we should develop and not what is required before developing anything. Like if I want to make this Google home screen, I want that I just come and I just after doing some basic steps, I should be able to start doing the code and actually start making this Google icon instead of doing the setup for the application. So the framework is used when we want say for example, there are some prerequisite steps which every developer needs to do in order to create or get started with making an application. So any framework will do those kinds of common steps and gives a freedom to developer to actual focus on the client side requirements or the actual production requirements instead of making or doing the setups. So every framework is very important and very mostly used by the developer. A basic example, if you have done some web development, you must know that in the simple notepad we can type our HTML query. Say for example, if I want to display a hello on the browser, so what can I do? Like I can write HTML skip head. I will save it as hello dot and there is my hello world. And you can see if I can make an web page in simple notepad, then why I will need a framework. I missed this. Luckily it did not showed any error, but in a very large application, like if I'm writing thousands of lines in every page and there are thousands of files, then you can understand. So this is another advantage of a framework, which tells you whether you have missed any round angular bracket, or angular bracket is not angular, which I'm going to cover, but this bracket. So and many other things, like it will give me suggestions what I need to use and what are the multiple options or attributes available. For attributes are like in h1 I can write a style attribute, and there are so many things. So what can I use, what are the different options, is there anything I am missing, and all the possible things which are very basic and we are forgetting those. The uh, framework will automatically guide us through, and it will make the life of developer very easy. Now we will see why should we learn Angular, because as always there are many things available in the market for doing anything. So why Angular? Because Angular is created and supported by Google. So we know how much big the Google brand is and how well they are growing in this technology, and as the Google is behind this, it is very trustworthy. And also the second advantage is, and anyway there are many advantages and we are going to cover few of them, but they are very important. And second is the CLI, which the Angular framework provides us with. So CLI is for command line interface, and CLI is I have to create a HTML page. Anyway, this HTML page is called like a component in Angular environment. I can use a command which will just be like ng generate, g for generate, c for component, and the name of the component. See, for example, I need to create a component saying Angular component. I need not to mention component as prefix because the Angular will automatically do that. So I will just mention Angular hello. So this will create a file with name angular-hello.component.ts and component.html, component.scss. SCSS for styled CSS, no, structured CSS. So a CSS advanced form, and one more file for spec.ts which will be for testing. So this simple command will make a 4 file for us, and those 4 files will be like a base for our component Angular hello, and we don't need to do anything, and we just need to focus what we want in that Angular hello component. So this is the advantage we get. Another thing is ahead of time compilation, compiler. So it is like we are creating our applications which are in HTML and TypeScript. We are using TypeScript for writing the logic, and we are writing the actual HTML pages in the HTML file. And by the way, these HTML pages are not static but dynamic, meaning we can play with the elements which are applied on this screen. We can do anything with this text box, this image. We can do anything in Angular very easily. So all these things are written in HTML and TypeScript. So when we are developing or typing the code, the Angular ahead of time compiler uh, simultaneously or continuously converts those codes into JavaScript format, and it is done before the code is displayed on this browser. So it makes this application render or run very fast and becomes very lightweight. And now you may have a doubt that if the browser needs to convert the code in JavaScript, then why we write the code in TypeScript? So the simple answer is TypeScript is uh, TypeScript is type based, as the name suggests. We can have types. If you have done the coding, then you should know. If not, let me give an example. Type is nothing but like in JavaScript, if you write something like function, and suppose this function some return to, suppose this is returning to, or let me name as get. So this function which I have created is returning a number, but we have never specified that this function should return a number. So suppose if I have thought that this get method is returning a number, and I have written somewhere the logic that I am calling this get method, and I am doing some addition using this to number, and somewhere in future somebody replaces this with say hello. Now this function will not throw an error because its return type is never mentioned anywhere. So this function will return hello, and where we have written the logic in which we were calling this get function to do some calculation, then anyhow it will work this time, because it will concatenate those two. But you can now imagine what I am trying to say. If you don't know why it will not give error, because the string and number, if we use together, it will treat the plus sign as concatenation, so it will just append 2 in front of hello. So but it will create a bug in future. So that bug is, to avoid those bug, if we use TypeScript, we will do something like this. We don't need function keyword, we will just put colon and we will specify a number. So the framework will warn us that it should return number and we are trying to return string. So this was the basic example. So let's come to the next point, which is we use component based architecture. So let's take an example. What is component based architecture? Component, as I said earlier, component is a set of few files, namely 4, in which the first one is suppose .html file, .scss file, which is for styling. Third one is spec.ts, means the name.spec.ts, which is for testing that component. And the fourth one is the component.ts. So the component.ts and the HTML, these two exactly work like one thing. So anything we want to display on HTML, we can do those modifications in component, and it will automatically change what is displayed on the HTML part. Suppose in component I have declared a equals to 2, and if I print on HTML page using interpolation symbol, curly bracket, and write a, it will display 2. And suppose if I do some backend call on the component, and later on this value changes from 2 to 3, and in the front end the value will automatically change to 3, because change to 3. So this is very nice. So this HTML and component works hand to hand with each other, and it works like as if they both are single thing. And so this is a component, and as we said, this is based the framework is based on component based. So there are multiple components. Suppose in a student management application there is a student functionality, there is a admin functionality, there is a exam functionality, there is a library functionality. So this all will be modules. In modules there will be various components, and those components will interact with each other. And if we want to remove some component in the future, we can just replace that component with someone else, some other component, if we want to change the functionality. So it is very easy to maintain, and also it is less dependent on each other, as every component are alone or individual in its own way. They all have the 4 set of files which they require to function fully. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. A module is nothing but a collection of all the components, different components and different services. Service is another topic, which all these things which we will discuss in the next video. This video is just to give you a brief idea about all the cool things which Angular has and why should we learn. So the next thing is detailed documentation. The Angular provides its own documentation, so we don't need to go somewhere else. If we just write Angular, and the first link is the angular.io, which is its documentation. We can search anything we want. Like if you want to know what is component, I will just write component, and here it is. And there are all the methods available in the component, all the attributes, and there will be example also somewhere. See, so learning Angular is very easy. As you know, some languages which are not that popular, it's very hard to find the solution while working if we stuck on anything. So while using Angular, we will not face such issue, because Angular is already very popular and it's trending now. It is trending now and used by most of the companies. And the last point which we will see is the dependency injection. All the modern frameworks are having this functionality, and it is very important. Suppose if you have two classes in the sense student if you're familiar with Java, we can have an example. Suppose this is student and this is teacher, and somewhere we are trying to make an object of student in teacher. So we will write student s equals to new student, and we will nothing but call the constructor of this. So it is indirectly creating a bond between these two classes. So this is very hard, because if you want to test this file, suppose if I want to test this file, I need to mock this file. Mock means create a dummy of this student, because these two are linked together, and it is very hard while testing the class we want to test. So when we talk about dependency injection, what it will do is we will have the same classes here, student and teacher, but this time we are not doing is equals to new student for making the constructor available, or making this class student class available in teacher class. What we will do is that we will create a bean, or we will provide some information we will mention some information in this individual classes, that the container or the framework will identify that it should create the objects of this components, all these components. So the container will make available all the objects the classes will be requiring. So here I will just write student s and provide @autowire in Spring Boot, so that autowire will find the container will provide the student reference inside the student, and we will not do is equals to new student and anything. We can directly write student s and we can use the object to access the members of the student class. uh, so that is a basic idea of dependency injection. Means the container is or container or the framework which are containing all the classes is providing me all the functionality or all the reference or all the objects which I need. So we don't need to take any other steps to access those. So this is like a basic introduction to what is Angular and why should we learn that. So for using this we should have basic two softwares, which will be first is the Node.js, and Node.js is through which we can use the command line interface of the Angular, which is very useful when we want to make our applications faster. So we will download the zip MSI file 64-bit Windows, and we are downloading the latest one version. (18 MB) and start download. The next one is the interface or IDE. IDE, you know, that browse development editor which you will be using. So I will use VS Code, which is very popular and very short in size, and it is also again very popular, and it has supports to many other languages, like we can do Python coding, C++, C# coding, C coding, and many other languages. We have the plugins available for all the popular technologies which are in the market today, available in VS Code, and also it is free of cost. So we are going to use Visual Studio Code, and for downloading that we will just write Visual Studio Code download. And also it is available for Windows, Mac, and Windows, Mac, and Linux. So it is again very popular. Again, it is easy and accessible for all kinds of user. So we will download a zip file. You can download installer also, but I will prefer not to install and just use it as whenever I require. So I will do the 64-bit zip file download, and the download will get started. Till then we can do the installation of Node.js. So here it is, the setup file which we have downloaded just now. We will double click it and we will do the next. Generally we should not change the pre-selected options or the suggestion which it is providing, unless we are going to do something special or we are very experienced in this field. So just go with the steps which it is following. A pop-up will show asking you to confirming you that do you want to allow this app to make changes to your file. You will click yes, and the installation process will get started. So the another file is also downloaded. We will have the folder. We will unzip it. I should have extracted it in a folder, so you guys don't make this mistake again. So our Visual Studio Code is downloaded and we have our Node.js almost installed. So we have installed Node.js successfully. Click finish and let's take a look at our Visual Studio Code. We will firstly, I will ping this to my taskbar so that I can easily access it, and then double click it. Let's just try if we have installed Node successfully or not. We can open our command prompt again and we can write npm, which is node package manager. If it works, then we have node.js installed successfully. Yes, and we will see all the different kinds of options we have with npm. So here we have installed node.js successfully, and we have our Visual Studio editor, which we will in this training or this series which I am going to make. And that's it for today. Thank you all guys for staying with me, and I hope by the end of this video me and you will make a web application in which we will perform all kinds of tricks which I have learned while making web applications till now, and I will also cover the how to test different components and different things which we are developing by the end of this series. And if you want to get notifications of my videos, you can subscribe to my channel and you can click the bell icon so that you stay updated with my videos. And if you want to share any comments or give any suggestions or any topics which I should create videos on, you can comment in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much guys, and stay healthy, stay safe. Bye.